So today we're going to talk about neurographic art. Neurographic art was developed by a Russian psychologist by the name of Pavel Paskarev. And he was able to develop this kind of idea of combining how our brain works and some art making. And the entire idea behind this is rewiring your brain to behave in a different way. That sounds a little bit freaky, but I'm going to explain what I mean by that. So let's break down neurographic art. You have neuro, which comes from the neurons in your body, and graphic, which comes from art. The neurons in your body is what sends messages throughout your body telling it what to do. And your neurons are activated when you're doing some problem solving and figuring things out. So your neurons are firing when you are figuring out how to solve a problem in a situation you're in, when you're stressed, when you're preparing for a test, all of these different things. And very often they get into a pattern where if you are stressed about something over and over, you're going to have certain triggers that bring that stress forward without even it being a certain stressful situation. It's just going to come forward because your brain is wired to react in a certain way. And so this man, Pavel, developed this way of creating art that is going to change the way that your brain works when it encounters stress. So let's see how this works. So the first thing we're going to look at is what the neurons in your brain actually look like, because the art we're going to make is actually going to resemble the neurons themselves. And he thought that that was a great part of this, is when you are creating something that resembles what your body looks like on the inside. It's going to further activate those neurons and connect your inner self with what's on the paper. So let me show you what a neuron looks like. It looks like this. This is obviously a computer-generated version, but you've got all of these lines going everywhere, wavy lines, straight lines, all over the place. They look like a tangled mess. And then you've got these net centers of neurons that are this larger clump. And so you see that here. Here's another image. Lots of lines and then a clump. And another, this one's with a bunch of different colors. And so what we create is going to be reminiscent of this visually. So, let me stop sharing. Okay. So I'm going to share my camera and I'm going to show you how this is going to work. So what's really important is that you are in a quiet place for this, that you are in a comfortable seat, and you need to get yourself into a spot where you're feeling a little bit relaxed. Roll your shoulders if you need to, sit comfortably, try not to have too much tension in one part of your body or another. Take a few deep breaths, center yourself so that you're focused on this. Try to be in a place that's not too noisy. And I'm going to recommend that you use a white piece of paper and something with a little bit of weight to it. And by that, I mean a marker, maybe some paint even. If you use a pencil, you absolutely can, but it's going to be harder for you to get those clumpy parts of the neurons. And you'll see what I mean. So if you are able to get a marker in your hand, that's my favorite thing to use for this. I find it the easiest way to get the process going. So, like I said, get yourself comfortable. And what I want you to do is think about something that causes you stress. It can be something really small, like I hate it when we are out of my favorite brand of mac and cheese, or I can't find my shoes sometimes in the morning. Or it can be something bigger, fight with a friend, school stress, stress about the state of the world. It can be anything. Think about something that causes you stress. And I want you to focus on that thing in your mind. And what we're going to do is we're going to draw some lines going across our paper. Each line is going to start on one side and end on one of the other three sides. And each line is going to be 3 seconds long. And what that means is you're going to draw your line and count to 3. All the while keeping in your brain that stressful thing. So I'm going to start over here and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3. Your lines can be wavy, straight, tangled, zigzag, however you want it to be. Start on a different side. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Remember to breathe through this. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You can do this as many times as you want, but you just want to kind of fill up your paper so it's fairly balanced. If you've got a lot of your lines on one side, maybe add a few more so they fill up the page. When you're ready, and you feel like you've filled up your paper, I want you to pause, and you're going to take a minute and kind of shake out that stressful thing. Change your mindset, stop thinking about that stressful thing, and I want you to instead think of something really positive, something that brings you joy, something that makes you happy, something that makes you relax. Think about something good. It can be your favorite TV show, it can be hanging with your friends, it can be petting your pet, it can be drawing, it can be singing, it can be anything you want, anything that brings you joy or a sense of peace. And now I want you to think about that thing, whatever it may be. And if that stressful thing starts to creep in, I want you to push it out and focus on the positive. And while we're thinking about that positive thing, I want you to look at each intersecting line. Every time lines cross paths, and they make kind of an X every time. And those X's have these sharp corners. And so what we're going to do while we're thinking about this positive thing is we are going to round those corners. So instead of this coming to a sharp point, I want it to be a rounded corner, and then I'll fill in the gap. I'm going to do that on all four sides. Round the corner and fill it in. Round it. And you're going to do that for every section. Take your time. Think about your not so stressful things. And you're rounding the corners. Depending on how many lines you have, this might take a while. Not only are we replicating the shape of neurons in our mind, but what we're doing is we're telling our brain to take that stressful thing and instead focus on something not stressful. We are rounding the corner. We are changing the narrative in our head. And if you find that stressful thought starting to creep in, force it away. You can kind of see why this would be a little bit trickier if you're using something with a small tip like a pencil or something. Go in and do this on every intersection. Some people also swear by this as a way to pass the test. They've gotten so used to doing this that they focus on the questions that might be on a test when they're drawing those first few lines. Then when they're rounding all the corners, they're thinking about the answers. Because what we're doing is we're retraining our brain that when we think about the stressful thing, we are training our brain to say, nope, I'm switching to the not stressful thing. So if you do it with test, I'm going to focus on those questions and telling my brain, when you see those questions, I want you to think about the answers. You'll have to test that out for me because I've never done that, but maybe it works. Some people swear by it. So as you can see, I'm just rounding all my corners, getting these darker edges. If you find yourself tensing up, just force your shoulders down, relax. And then when you finish all of your intersecting points, you have a choice to make. You might want to leave this black and white, or you might want to color it in. Both are correct. You can do whatever you'd like. Still have a couple more to do, but I want to show you what it looks like when it's finished. Here's one I did with watercolor. Here's one that I'm working on using crayon, marker, and colored pencil. You can do either one, or you can leave it black and white. This is also something great to do if you are currently feeling stressed. Next time you're feeling really stressed and anxious, stop and do this project. Do this kind of practice. And eventually, if you do it enough, you're going to retrain your brain to behave differently. Feel free to send me pictures. Let me know how this goes, and I will see you all very soon.